All right, here we go. We're riding. We're on a passenger. Whoa. Went a little wide. That was a pretty easy turn, though. What happened there, guys? What happened there, guys? So right here, what we're doing is that we're riding on the back of this guy's bike. Okay, I'm assuming it's a guy. We have a bus up here. We have two other people. Looks like we're being, held back, right? These two guys are a lot closer than we are to them. So I'm going to just assume it could totally not be the problem is that we're trying to catch up to them because they're kind of close and we have a passenger. So maybe we're taking turns a little bit slower. So now we're finally catching up and it's like, oh crap, we got to slow down because they got slowed down because of that. I'm just playing in these different scenarios. It quite could be that he's white zoned out. But we're riding with a passenger. What are some of the factors, some of the things that happen when it comes to riding with a passenger? You got to have smoother inputs because if we don't, we just gun it. Passenger's going to do this. If we slam the brakes, what's it going to do? Boom. You get the head knock on that front, their front helmet hitting the back of your helmet. Turning, they could, just be doing this. You don't want that. So when you have a passenger, what you want to do is have nice, smooth throttle inputs, nice, smooth braking, and nice, smooth turning. And then you want to obviously talk about, sit still. Don't lean with me, especially on these easy turns. We're not trying to race, okay? We don't need to get crazy body positioning. So don't lean with me. Just kind of sit there while you can do your turn. You want them to be like a sack of potatoes, basically, okay? You see how we caught up to the rider? So that's why I assumed this. I assumed because we closed that space cushion. Okay, see how it's like a lot smaller here? So now we're going to start running wide, maybe applying a little bit too much brake pressure, and then we lose some traction, lose some of our skill. Maybe we go into more of a brown stage at the end. So now we go a little bit wide. Now when we watch this, it's like, oh, that's easy. Like, why didn't he just make that turn? Well, the thing is, we're going too wide for his skill with a passenger. Could have messed some things up. He probably didn't change his suspension to accommodate somebody over 100 pounds or something. So maybe we could have had some issues. We don't know the full factors, full situation here. But the thing is, we went a little bit wide. So don't assume that they're terrible riders. He's probably been riding for a long time. He's in a club. He's doing all these different things. Just maybe it was a massive mistake that could have been way worse than this. I mean, we did pretty good right here. We didn't go off the cliff. I think that's a win. Group ride. What do you think is going to happen? Low side, high side? What do you think? Oh. If he had a comm system, the guy in the back could have called it out. I could see some dust. Great situation awareness on this. This is a group rider I want with me. If I crash and I'm in the back and I can't say anything, look at that. See,
Are you okay?
Uh-oh. Ooh, that's not a good sign. Scarlett, what do you think?
Are you bleeding? You need an ambulance?
We're going to spend a little time on this one. Oh, man. Okay, 3/4 helmet. Oh, he's got laceration right here. He's got a laceration. He's got an impact to the face. I just want to show you that a little bit. Yep, look at that. He's got a laceration to his face right there. You got some blood flow, just a little bit. But remember, he has a 3/4 helmet, so in order to get that impact, there had to have been an external impact. So probably the ground. Full face helmet would have protected a lot of that. You could still get dings and stuff. You can get bloody lips and maybe broken teeth because the chin bar hits you, but it's still better than removing your jaw. So that's whew. What I absolutely like about this is that this dude recognized my buddy is not behind me. He's maybe keeping an eye on him through his mirrors. He's being situationally aware. He doesn't have full gear, but here's the thing. Situation awareness, I like this guy so far. And he turned around immediately. Now, one of the big problems with something like this is that he turned around immediately. What about his buddy still traveling that way? So if he needs assistance to help his buddy, what are you going to do? And this is where you get that Cardo Pack Talk Bold, Pack Talk Slim. But this way you can communicate on your system. Be like, hey, Chris crashed. Chris, he just crashed over here. I'm turning around. And then that gives everybody notice to obviously turn around too and hopefully rescue another rider. All right, so right here, you recognize, okay, it came from a curve. So maybe too fast. He went over here. There's his bike. There's him. So he obviously fell off and he started tumbling. This right here, let's say his name is Chris. Okay, you ride with Chris all the time. You have a great time. You had beers after, or not after this one. Maybe he's in the hospital, but you have beers after rides. You have a great time. You know each other well, so you know his demeanor, you know how he speaks, you know what he says, and you know how he rides. So if this right here, it's like, oh man, he crashed. That's not good. So now when you start to talk to him, it's like, whoa, this doesn't sound like Chris. This doesn't sound like my buddy typically. Oh, he's not up and jumping around like it was a funny mistake like he usually does if he trips and falls or whatever. He's actually not talking to me. So that should give you this, oh crap, something bad is happening. And Scarlett mentioned brain reset. So the brain jostled around, possibly shut off for a quick second, rebooted, and now it's starting to get all the processes going, and he's not all there yet.
Are you alright, man? Are you okay?
Not moving, not saying anything. That's a scary situation. So now you're here by yourself with your friend. Can you save him? Can you work on him? Can you do an assessment? Do you need help? Do you need somebody to call 911 while you're talking to him? Where are your buddies? They're still traveling down the road. Like I said, this is where having that communication system is very important. Hand signals are great, but only if you're in the front. Right here, you need to have your buddies turn around and help you. Possibly control traffic around this turn, possibly call 911.
You alright?
So I think he said something about, oh, my head. Here's the thing. Like I said, if this is Chris, your buddy, and now he's talking like this, and this is not how he talks, you need to start going through the assessment. Okay. Is he bleeding everywhere? Is his breathing? Is his airway still intact? The fact that he said something good, airway's there. He's kind of breathing still. Okay. Bleeding, I don't know. Is he bleeding anywhere out of his leg, his arms, his back, his chest? He's got clothes that are covering up the location of the injury. So in this situation, be like, hey, Chris, man, let me take care of you. Just relax. I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna go start taking off your clothes. I'm gonna start checking for injuries. Is there anything that hurts? Does your arm hurt? Does your leg hurt? Does your chest hurt? Does your back hurt? While I'm actually going down his arms, I'm literally going down his arm, like, hey, does this hurt? Hey, does this hurt? Hey, does this hurt? Hey, does this? I'm like wearing gray on gray. I'm like, hey, does this hurt? Does this hurt? Does this hurt? Does anything hurt? I'm asking because I want him to tell me. Right now, it's like, well, where are my buddies? That Bluetooth system would have came in handy. All right, so he took off his own helmet. Now he did what he had to do, but here's the thing: when it comes to an injury like this or a mechanism of injury, you don't want to take off their helmet. Now he's got a 3/4 helmet on, so you obviously leave that on because you can still access the airway and breathing. So the only time you take a helmet off is if they're not breathing and it's a full face. If they are breathing and there's a full face, you leave it on. If they are not breathing and they have a 3/4 or a half helmet, you leave it on. If they are not breathing uh, and no helmet, well, you never have to deal with that. But, ooh, Sean, exact rapid trauma assessment. Just go down it quick. So he's got that injury right here. So hit his head, brain started jostling around, coup contra coup. So it boom, boom, boom. That's when you start having bruising, a concussion, and your body just kind of shuts it off and it has to reboot it. Positioning, okay, good. Line of sight. All right, we're moving out. Now we're speeding up. Oh, good braking. Good braking. I believe he's in yellow stage, kind of zoned in. Maybe he's starting to go towards orange stage, right? Because look at his hand position. His hands are covering the brakes. His hands covering the clutch. He's getting ready. I would prefer if he had gloves on in full gear, but here's the thing. Gear is only good if you crash. Except for gloves. Gloves give you that tactile feel. It allows you to actually grip things. You know, if your hands are wet, that kind of sucks. So if you have good situation awareness and good fundamental skills, you'll prevent the need for motorcycle gear. But if you get into a position where you do crash, don't you wish you had some? That's why I really, really want you guys to get some gear. But if you can't, we are giving away some gear, guys. So right here, good line of sight, good positioning. Looks like he's about to shift. He has his hand on the brakes. That's when he perceived he's about to honk. The person's coming up. We have to do something to get ourselves out of this emergency situation. So he has his hand firmly gripping that front brake, but the problem is his finger right here. So he's grabbing the handlebar like this, and he's using these 3 fingers. Well, if you'd ever noticed when you pull it in all the way, you might actually get the lever in between and not get a full 100% progressive brake pressure. Like sometimes all you could do is grip it and squeeze a little bit, and then the lever's in the way. So then all you get is like 80. Sometimes you need to get that full 100. So that's one of those things where you should definitely not develop. Don't develop that habit where you keep your fingers on that. You need to squeeze. Use all four. Maybe reach with the middle finger if you have longer fingers in the middle. So you reach and squeeze, and then now you're squeezing with all of them. But he did a great job. Did a great job here stopping.
Hey!
And all he did was slow down enough. And that's it. And he's going to yell at them and do all that stuff. But don't develop that bad habit, okay? Try not to do that. That would really suck if he tried to squeeze and he needed that 100% and only got 80, 90 because his finger was in the way. Oh, it looks like a demo event. Ducatis. There's a scrambler. Ooh, that's a powerful one right there. Okay. A lot of feet. A lot of feet touching the ground. Practice your tight turns. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, it's a demo event. We're all pulling out. The guy's holding traffic. What do you think happened? Speed? Was there too much? Nah, I think there's too little speed. Now, you could do really slow speed stuff. You know, that wasn't too slow. So what could have been the problem? Positioning? Maybe get that butt off a little bit more. Maybe get some good handlebar turn, head look, some friction zone, some throttle control. Guys, that's tight turn from a stop right here. So when you go to class and you learn the tight turn from a stop and U-turns and slow speed maneuvers, this is the real life situation where you need to know how to do that. This right here is a tight turn from a stop. Now it's not too tight, but it's still a turn from a stop. So learn your friction zone, learn your throttle control, learn your head movement, body positioning. So I think too little speed for his skill. Yeah. I think positioning, I think he was fine, just didn't work on it too well. I don't think ego is a part of it. I think he really wanted to buy a Ducati and wanted to play with it. Yeah, bike died. Look at this. You could tell they're newer and nervous because they keep putting their foot down. You need to learn that movement speed, the throttle control, friction zone, so you can keep your feet on the pegs. There we go. All right, so we're going decent speed, not super fast. We're keeping up with traffic. Okay. What are we going to do here? Great line of sight. All right, get out of the way because of the bus. Oh, weren't paying attention. What do you think happened there? Outside of the fingerless gloves. What do you think happened? So, Vasu watching the bus and got zoned out. Good. All right, so good. Here's the thing. Good line of sight, so great positioning, good speed. We maintain a space cushion until last second because we're distracted, but we have good space cushion here. We're following the flow of traffic. We had a good speed, good positioning, so that's not a big deal, but I think he had a lapse in judgment. So he's in yellow right now. Now we're in white stage. Now, it can just for a split second, white stage can get you. So it doesn't matter how good you are at stopping, doesn't matter how good you are at everything. If you just zone out for a second in the wrong position, wrong time, oh, that could be a huge problem for you. So right here, what we could do is just keep going straight in lane filter if we felt like this guy was stopping on us. We don't have to stop right here. We could just keep going. So in this situation, if you zoned out and you caught yourself for a split second and got back in, you're like, oh crap, I got to stop. Also look for the other situations. Just because you zoned out doesn't mean you have to do a brown stage maneuver. You could totally go through here with a red stage maneuver. So this is when we applied the brakes. We panic brake. Okay, we talk about that all the time. And look at the handlebars. Whoop, dump the bike. We lost traction. So look at this situation though. It's a green light. We could have lane filtered if we had to. An emergency lane filter. I'm all for that. I think that might be the third thing that I'm going to start telling you guys to do. Okay, when I talk about emergency braking, talk about emergency swerving, what about emergency lane filtering? Hey, it's an escape path. I would take it. Instead of doing that. Ay. That's a no bueno situation, everybody. It's a no bueno situation. All right, wheelies through residential. Don't recommend it, especially doing that. It's kind of a dumb move. Oh! Lost traction when the tire hit. Look how far he's sliding. Look how far he's sliding. Hopefully it shows his hand. I want to see his hand. You could rip everything up. Oh, you can't see it. I could barely see it. It's ripped up. Guys, that's how far you're going to slide. So make sure it's not your skin going across the ground. Woo. All right, in traffic. Okay, good. Moving around. We're kind of all over our lane positioning, but that's fine. All right, watch out. Side of the vehicle. Pay attention. Oh. Oh, yeah. Guys, you see it, right? Positioning speed, possibly zoned out. He's looking to the right. We have that side of the vehicle right there. It's a little bit blurry. Side of the vehicle right there. Left turner. Got him. Got him. I don't want to see that happen to you guys. I want you to start recognizing that pattern. When you see the side of the vehicle, please go into orange stage. Ay. Grab yourself a rock form case. I have a little pop socket adapter. I absolutely love it. This is a magnet right here. It keeps your phone nice and secure, a lot better than some of the other competitors. So make sure you check them out. Links in the description. Automatic discount when you click that link.